spooky soulmates. I hope you're, as always, having a great week and day. I'm so excited about this episode. I feel like we say the same things every time, but we are genuinely excited about really every topic that we give you.
We don't really do it if we don't like it.
True. So this week we are giving you Doppelgangers via Kaila and the Loch Ness Monster via me.
And apparently Rachel has uncovered some deep, dark secrets about Nessie that I have yet to hear about, so I'm excited.
Mind-blowing.
Your son, when he walked in, okay, so Jackson came in the room and he goes, "We watched something about Nessie." And I was like, "You did?" And I told him, we were doing that episode. And he was like, "You haven't recorded it yet?" I'm like, no.
Yes.
So he's excited about it.
Last night, I love that my son is genuinely interested in these type of things too. And of course, I only let him, in on the very tame subjects like Bigfoot or, the Loch Ness Monster. But I was like, "Hey, babe, do you want to watch a documentary with me tonight on the Loch Ness Monster?" And Jackson was like, "Absolutely."
That's so cute.
And apparently it was a little bit scarier than I had anticipated. Not for me, but maybe for a 9-year-old, because he's like, "Mom, will you sleep on my bottom bunk tonight? That was pretty intense." It's like, "Yes, I will." So we camped out last night.
Which you needed after him going back to school this week.
That's so true. Oh my goodness. Motherhood is a roller coaster. It really is. And, he's getting older now. And of course I do have a littler one, but when your oldest just reaches these different milestones and gets to be almost the same height as you, it's insane.
And wants to take the bus.
And wants to take the bus instead of me walking him to his class. Oh.
Rachel was like, "I'm going to be in full depression today." So
that was tough for Mama, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
They're independent. So, that's the goal, to raise strong, independent kids. So, goal met, but sad mom. So how was your week, Kaila?
It was pretty good. I was honestly just trying to get to the weekend because we're celebrating Dick Pirate's birthday this weekend.
Woohoo! Happy birthday, Dick Pirate!
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody out there knows who Tenacious D is, but we're going to the Tenacious D concert. And if you don't know who that is, Jack Black is the lead singer. So we're like secretly hoping we'll get to meet him. And my husband is basically I call him the discount version of Jack Black, as in he's like evolving into Jack Black, but he's not quite there yet. So he wants to dress in like tie-dye shirts and sweatpants, and he makes funny jokes, and he has like a long scraggly beard. So, it's basically the same.
Jack Black has his own YouTube channel.
He does. He just started Jablinski Games, and we have watched every single video he's put out. So it's been kind of a bonding experience, but he seems like a really fun guy.
Yeah.
So
he drives me crazy. I think that Tenacious D is funny, but Jack Black as like a character in like the movies that, like the roles he plays in movies.
He's amazing. What are you talking about?
So irritating.
Well, you probably wouldn't want to be around Dick Pirate then.
Dick Pirate has a special place in my heart. So. Anyway, but we're excited about this episode, and I think Kayla's going to start us off here.
I am. Okay, so I am talking about doppelgangers today, and they are terrifying. The only time I've ever heard of doppelgangers, I played a D&D game with this guy, and my character accidentally became a doppelganger through a bad decision. And so my character went from being Maluna to Matuna because it was my second version, and I killed everybody. So that's pretty much what doppelgangers are. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. No, I'm kidding.
Isn't it so weird that my doppelganger is famous?
Yes.
Angelina Jolie.
Oh, I was like, where are we going with this? I'm just gonna nod and agree.
It's so weird that my doppelganger is out in public like that. But
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, moving on.
Okay, so a doppelganger is defined as an apparition or a double of a living person. It's not the same as a twin. Twins actually share DNA, but a doppelganger is someone who looks extremely similar. So there's the scientific side where there actually are people that look extremely similar, that they're not related. And then there's the supernatural side, which is where it's a double and it's going to kill you. Okay. So we're going to explore both because I like to do that. Okay. So nowadays, everything is scientific, but scientifically speaking, doppelgangers should not exist. Mathematically speaking, the number of variables in the face alone are so vast that it would be pretty much impossible for anyone to be an exact replica without the same DNA.
Okay.
There was a group of people that did their own study on this. If you're interested in looking at it, it's twinstrangers.com.
I've seen this. It's fascinating.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So they basically reached out on their social media accounts and said, hey, if you look like me, let's meet up. And they have a video, which I'll actually post in the group. But the end result was pretty spot on. The guys that did it, there were 2 guys that did it, and theirs were like, I see some similarities. The girls, though, like, oh my God, they like styled their hair and make it the same way and put on the same clothes. But even before that, I was like, holy crap, how are they not?
I was going to say women have a little bit more of an advantage because they can kind of play it up. But
yeah, but I mean, even before that, they looked so similar. Yeah. So they said the probability that your doppelganger exists is high. The probability of you meeting them is extremely low. And even if you did, the funny thing is a lot of times doppelgangers will be like, I don't see it, Yeah. So you can be like, I could be sitting here going, oh my God, Rachel, that's your doppelganger. And you're like, but she doesn't look like Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think that it would be hard for people to like see it because they have a higher view of what they look like in their heads? You know what I mean?
Well, what ends up happening is the way that you process it determines what you see.
Okay.
Which is crazy because it's like, okay, so do I look different to people?
Yeah.
Or different people?
Because when people say like, you look like this actress, I'm like, that's what you think I look like?
I know.
And then I sometimes take it as an offense. So
exactly. Well, no, apparently when you look at a person, depending on what part you process first is what determines how they look to you. So say I look at your nose and that's what I see first. And then I take in your eyes and your mouth. Whereas,
I'm triggered.
Whereas Ryan might look at your eyes first and then your mouth and your nose.
Okay.
Okay, so he may see you totally different than I see you. So when doppelgangers look at each other, one of them might be like, oh my God, it's spot on, because that's how they look at themselves. They see the nose first or they see whatever first. But the other person might be looking, okay, well, he has big ears, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they're going to see each other the same.
What do you look at when you look at people? Like, what's the first thing that you take in? What feature?
If there's not something extremely off, like lipstick smear or, if it's a regular face, probably the eyes.
Yeah.
And then if they're talking, their mouth.
Yeah.
I probably look at the nose like last, unless it looks weird.
I look at hair first. Is that
really?
Weird? Yeah. I'm fascinated by hair, probably because I'm growing an under mullet. So.
It's just the
very insecure about
the comparison game. Yeah. Okay, so to truly see and recognize your doppelganger is actually an extremely rare thing within the 1 trillionth of chances.
Oh, wow.
Scientists actually believe doppelgangers may exist in other universes and that this is just one version of us on this one Earth. And I'm going to get a little nerdy. Hopefully we can follow the trend here. Okay, so touching on the idea of multiverses, they're merely theories as of yet because there's really no way for us to prove that they exist. They are virtually Okay. Alternate universes could exist inside black holes or like bubble universe. So we've seen black holes. We finally got our first picture of a black hole, but we've never gone near enough because we're kind of like, okay, we're going to die if we go near a black hole. But what if it was a portal to another universe?
Kaila, our topics tie in together.
Again? How? Oh my God. I'm sorry, headphone listeners. I'll try to dial that down.
They go together, but okay, keep going.
Okay. So right now that's virtually unreachable because we've never tried to go through a black hole. It's also possible that we exist in 3 dimensions, but are within a 9-dimensional universe that we cannot see. Okay, so to visualize this, it's the same way that a 2D notebook or newspaper exists in our 3D world. Okay, so like the words on a page, they don't pop out at you.
Okay.
It's 2D, but it exists within 3D world. So theoretically, there could be multiple 3D universes embedded within a 9D universe, creating membranes like a newspaper.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. I mean, no, but to
they're
smart
parallel.
people, it probably does. Yeah.
They're parallel to each other, but they don't actually touch. Those words never
form together.
Yes.
Okay.
They never hold hands.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the third hypothesis is that all the possibilities in the world could happen and do, but they're just in different worlds. So if any of you saw Avengers Endgame, it was kind of the same thing. Like, it's the thought that, okay, I'm doing this podcast right now, but what if I needed to go get some water? Well, the other version of me goes and gets water and stops the podcast, but this one continues talking.
That'd be so handy.
Right? But we never meet. So this me is still thirsty while the other me is behind on the podcast.
Okay.
Okay. So it's the person that you are now is stuck in that one trajectory, whereas your doppelganger is in another trajectory. Okay.
Okay.
Anything that can happen does, but we do not individually experience all of those cans.
All of our possibilities.
Exactly.
Okay.
The truth is, science can't prove or disprove the idea of multiverses yet. So really, the only proof we have of doppelgangers is the legendary and the paranormal version of them, which have been seen. So that means that the doppelgangers we encounter are likely not copies of you from an alternate universe, but rather the evil ghost doppelganger that wants to do you harm. So in the ghost doppelganger theory, one of you is considered the good version of you, or you.
Okay.
And the other is the exceptionally evil version of you. Legend has it that if you come into contact with your doppelganger, it is a death omen for you and your doppelganger.
I've heard this. Oh, see, your doppelganger.
Yeah, and see, that's what when I first went into researching this, I thought, okay, well, it's because the doppelganger wants to take over. Mm-hmm. No, you're both going to die.
Oh. Well, shoot.
I know.
It kind of makes me feel better, though, that, like, my twin or whatever isn't out there trying to, like, kill me. I mean, like,
and take over your life.
Yeah, because, like, we're both in a bad situation if we see each other. So
yeah. So if you see your doppelganger, you want to run for your life. If you continue to see them, chances are your time on Earth is coming to an end.
Shoot. I've never seen my doppelganger. I just want to throw that out there.
Well, if you see your friend's doppelganger, it may be a sign of bad luck or bad health for you. So you're not even completely off the hook.
Oh, dang.
So if you see yourself, you're going to die. If you see me, two me's, then you're going to have really bad luck or bad health. Oh.
But does that mean anything for you? Like, if I saw your doppelganger, does that mean anything?
As long as I don't see myself, I'm okay.
All right.
It just sucks for you.
Sure.
Okay, so many times you will not see your own doppelganger. Someone else will see you, think it's you, maybe have a strange encounter. Often the doppelganger will refuse to speak, and then suddenly, like, you're in another place acting completely different than 2 seconds before. So I actually have some stories about it, but basically it would be like you just sitting there staring at me, not saying anything, creeping me the heck out, and then you walk up and leave. And then the real you walks in and talks to me. I'm like, what?
And you're like, what? Why were you acting so weird a second ago? And I was like, I wasn't in the room.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Oh, another thing, like the difference between the real person and the doppelganger is the doppelganger will not have a shadow or a reflection in a mirror or a body of water.
Okay.
So I guess just try to hold up like a mirror and be like, is it really Rachel?
Oh, shoot. Hold on. I have this mirror in my backpack.
In the back drawer.
Shut up. We were just on an interview. Like, somebody interviewed us from another podcast, which was lovely. We had a great time talking to him. But I said some stupid things. Okay.
Well, and it was live too, so that's always hard. You can't edit that part out. I mean, he has the power to edit it, but who knows if he will. Yes. Thank you, Dungeon Dive Dan, by the way. Yes. We had a lot of fun.
Dan, if you could please edit the back drawer thing out, I would really appreciate it.
Oh, please leave it in. It was so great.
If you guys didn't know, Dungeon Dan is a huge twihard. So, if you ever, find him on Twitter, what's his Twitter handle?
I think it's Dungeon Dive Dan.
Yeah, just talk to him. If you, anything about Twilight, talk to him about Twilight, any chance you can get, and he is just going to be giddy. So,
he's going to hate you. That will be the last time we ever get interviewed. Thank you, Rachel. All right. So anyway, doppelgangers are omens of bad luck because they bring it. They give poor advice or fake conversations to people while posing as you. They generally pretend to be a bad version of you, like an evil twin, and seeing them is almost always a bad thing. Okay.
But wait, don't they die too? I'm so confused.
They do, but they want to wreak havoc on your, I guess, legacy.
Okay.
Okay, so there were actually a couple famous people, like historical people, who saw their doppelgangers. And I did not know this until I delved into this, but Abraham Lincoln was actually like really supernatural. He was really into it, and he experienced a lot of things.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so he saw his doppelganger before he died.
Okay.
And this is actually, okay, I was like, did this really happen? Until I realized this is in his biography from 1854.
Okay.
So that's pretty convincing. And it says, I'm just going to read the exact verbiage.
Okay.
I know some words mean different things now, but just skip that. Okay. A queer dream or illusion had haunted Lincoln at times through the winter. On the evening of his election, he had thrown himself on one of the haircloth sofas at home just after the first telegrams of November 6th had told him he was elected president. And looking into a bureau mirror across the room, he saw himself full length, but with two faces. It bothered him. He got up. The illusion vanished, but when he lay down again, there in the glass again were two faces, one paler than the other. He got up again, mixed in the election excitement, forgot about it, but it came back and it haunted him. He told his wife about it. She worried too. A few days later, he tried it once more, and the illusion of the two faces again registered to his eyes. But that was the last. The ghost since then wouldn't come back. He told his wife, who said it was a sign he would be elected to a second term, and the death pallor of one face meant he wouldn't live through his second term.
Oh.
This is adapted from Washington in Lincoln's Time, 1895, by Noah Brooks, who claimed that he had heard it from Lincoln himself on November 9th, 1864, at the time of his re-election, and that he had printed an account directly after. He also claimed that the story was confirmed by Mary Todd Lincoln and partially confirmed by Private Secretary John Hay.
Fascinating.
And then he died.
Yeah, well, we all know the outcome.
And then we have a Future Dreams episode coming, and he also is in that.
Oh.
I was like, no.
Maybe.
Yeah, so Abraham Lincoln, he was pretty cool in my book. Okay, so then there was this woman named Emily Sagi. Sagi was a dedicated teacher working in France in the mid-19th century. Adored by her students, she was constantly tortured by her doppelganger in public. Her ghostly other would appear as she was giving a class in open view of all of her students who also saw the apparition.
Oh my gosh.
Her doppelganger would stand at her side as she was lecturing and mimic her every move to her doppelganger.
That would be so scary to see.
Mimic her every move, not to her doppelganger, but
yeah.
to the amazement of her students.
Okay.
Sorry. From the classroom to the school grounds, her doppelganger soon decided to go alone and was seen performing tasks on its own around the school. Some students would even try to interact with it, but noticed that it was kind of ethereal. So if they got close enough to touch it, it didn't feel like it was there.
How odd.
The sad thing is, after a while, parents started to take their children out of the school, and Emily soon lost her job because of it.
I mean, yeah.
I know. I mean, that's pretty bad. But there was like actually a firsthand account by a girl that was in her class, and she said that the teacher was outside the school window planting something in the garden, and then suddenly she just appeared in front of the classroom and was like teaching a lecture, and they were like, "But you're outside, like what's going on?"
What's her name again?
Emily Sagi.
That's fascinating to me.
Yeah, and like the teacher, the one in the room was the doppelganger, and when the teacher came in from gardening, they were like, "What just happened?" And she was like, "What are you talking about? I was just thinking about how I need to come in here." And it was like it was one step ahead of her.
It seems like it was like astral projecting almost.
Something,
kind of, you know?
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
They don't know what happened to her after that, if she died, or I don't think she ever saw her own doppelganger.
Really?
Yeah, she never saw it actually happen.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And then good old Reddit. This is from a username that's just a bunch of numbers and letters, so I'm not going to read it.
Okay.
But he says, when I was 9, I stayed home sick, in quotes, from school. I distinctly remember that I wasn't actually sick, simply playing hooky to avoid the mean kids, as I did that a lot around that age. I awoke from a nap, turned on the TV in our living room, and scrolled through some channels when my quote-unquote mother suddenly leaned over the bar and stared at me without saying anything. I had been awake for a few minutes at this point, so can't rightly blame sleep paralysis for all of this. Now, whatever this thing was, it was entirely identical to my actual mother. It sounds weird to describe, but it's as if the only difference was that this thing pretending to be my mom had never felt a single emotion in its entire life. It was unsettling. It beckoned me, and I attempted to talk to her as I would my mother. She kept beckoning, refused to answer.
What does beckoning mean?
Like, come here.
Oh, okay.
Like with her hands, but not saying anything.
Okay.
So when she refused to answer, I sensed something horribly wrong. The whole scenario felt disgustingly familiar, but I'll get into that later, which they never do.
Oh,
I'm like, dude.
Numbers and letters, come on.
Naturally, I started screaming at this thing to answer me. It just kept beckoning. I bolted, running out of the room and into the yard, yelling for help. My mother, the real one, had been working in the yard and came rushing over. I told her what I'd just seen, and she soothed me with easy explanations that it must have been a fever dream. But he wasn't actually sick. She thankfully stayed by my side the rest of the afternoon as I was a nervous wreck.
Oh.
So that's the point where you're like, Mom, it can't be a fever because I'm not actually sick.
That's like, I feel like that's what any mom would do, though. You know, like,
what if she faked it to try and like call him out because he was playing sick?
Oh.
Wouldn't that be hilarious?
That would be really funny.
He never lied and played hooky again.
But it would be really hard to like look void of emotion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so this is on the HalloweenWebsite.com, and it's called The Cemetery Mimic. And it says there's a defiled cemetery in the outskirts of Ciudad Juarez, Mexico.
Cool.
The city I was born in. People who can't afford to pay funerary services often bury their loved ones here. In Mexico, there's no such thing as medical aid for low-income workers. People that come from out of town are not used to the ever-changing weather, and as a consequence, many children die in the winter and end up buried in the old cemetery. When I was about 10 years old, 4 older friends and I decided to check it out. We walked for hours, and when we finally arrived, it was almost dark. We started walking around, and nothing seemed out of place. The air was getting very heavy, and we heard a strange noise from an old rotted tree. As we got near it, the tree started shaking. We all got really scared and ran. Later on, we found out that it was one of our friends playing a prank on us. We were laughing when suddenly the old gravekeeper showed up. He said, "Boys, I know you all are just here to have fun and fool around, but please understand that horrible things happen here. I live in that house over there," which was about 100 feet from the cemetery, "and every night that those high school punks come and drink and make their mess, weird things begin to happen. Last time there were loud voices and someone was knocking on my door at 2 a.m. I thought it was those punks, but no one was there. I'm very tired and I really would like to sleep tonight. So
poor guy.
I know. If you have no business here, please leave." We felt bad for the poor old guy and left. We never returned to that place until I was 17. I was with my high school punk friends in a truck, and we were looking for the old cemetery. After 10 years, the place had really changed, and we were having trouble finding it. The trail was wet and muddy, and there were so many of us that the truck got stuck in the mud. When we got out of the truck, we soon found out that we were inside of the cemetery. My friend left the truck in neutral so we could push it, when suddenly the truck began moving by itself. After we saw that, we were so scared that we just got in the truck and drove off. When we finally decided to stop, we noticed that the truck was marked with tiny foot and handprints all over. Does this sound familiar?
Oh, a little Pleasant Point. Yeah, reminiscent of that. Mm-hmm.
The gravekeeper showed up and said, "I remember you. You don't understand what's going on, do you? The spirits will chase you for a long time." I really didn't pay much attention to what he said until I later learned that there hadn't been any gravekeeper there for years. I got really freaked out when my friend started telling me that I looked different. They said they would run into me and I would have a disturbing, evil look in my eyes. The weird part is that I was never even at the place and time that they would tell me they saw me. Mm-hmm. One of my friends said he chased me all the way into a dead-end alley and that I would just disappear without a trace. Even my girlfriend said she would sometimes see me near her house dressed in black with a disturbing glare when I was actually out drinking with someone else.
Oh.
My sister says that sometimes she hears me when I get home and watches me open the door and go into the living room with the light turned off. She sees me lay down on the sofa from across the hall, and then suddenly I would begin ripping my clothes off like some wild animal. When she turns the light on, there's no one there.
Well, let's just hope he never sees them.
Hours later, I would arrive home, leave my keys on the table, and go to my room. All of this happens as if someone or something is imitating me, like a mimic. And that guy's name is Alex. Sorry. His name is Alex.
Okay.
And someone felt the need to reply and said, "I think that those people were experiencing a doppelganger."
Thank you, master of the obvious.
I know, right? So yeah, that's doppelgangers for you. I mean, there's not much on them, but That's probably because everybody that sees him dies.
They don't, unless they can get it out quickly.
Yeah.
It's gonna, die with them.
But I just think it's so interesting that Abraham Lincoln saw his and then did die.
Yeah. Yeah. I have an Abraham Lincoln story.
What?
So I had a friend that was very awkward. Okay. And I was trying to describe him to another friend. And I was like, yeah, he's really awkward. You know how like awkward Abe, like they called him awkward Abe. And she's like, you mean honest Abe? I was like, oh, never mind.
Well, everything is awkward for you. I mean,
so true. All right. Well, my segment again is on the Loch Ness Monster. And I was thinking I did a lot of research on this. And I like to do my research in a way that, let's say, everything in the earth dies.
Okay.
And a time capsule. You want to
have like a historical account.
Right. And like a time capsule is only able to save like a zip drive of our downloaded podcast. Okay. So if they were like, oh, the Loch Ness Monster was something that this earth apparently experienced, and I want them to be able to go to this episode, listen, and be like, I know everything about the Loch Ness Monster.
It was a myth in our time, but not in theirs.
Yes. So I will be teaching future Earths the right thing to believe. Okay. So I'm going to dive in and give you just a few facts about the loch, just so that you can get an idea of its size and kind of what it was about.
Is loch like Scottish for lake?
It's body of water.
I'm sure that's very obvious now that I've said it, but I just wanted to put that out there.
Yes. No. Okay. Understandable. Okay. So just quick facts about Loch Ness. It's a large, deep freshwater lake in the Scottish Highlands. It is 22.5 miles long and 1.7 miles wide at its widest point. So it's pretty big.
Do they know how deep it is?
Yes. Average depth is 433 feet, but at its deepest point has been locked in at 812 feet. In 1987 by George Edwards, who is a boat captain and Nessie research enthusiast.
Okay.
Its average temperature is 42 degrees Fahrenheit, and so the loch never freezes. Due to its great depth. I'm sorry.
Nessie's real deep.
It is the largest lake by volume in the UK at 1.8 cubic miles, and it contains more fresh water than all the lakes in England and Wales combined. So the Loch Ness it's an old loch. It was formed approximately 10,000 years ago towards the end of the last ice age, when the Great Glen was filled by a glacier. And now getting into Nessie, the earliest report of a monster in the lake's vicinity appears in The Life of Saint Columba by Adamnan, written in the 7th century AD, which is the year 565. So this is straight out of the memoir, the book itself. It goes, we know about Columba's monstrous encounter because of his 7th century biographer, Saint Adamnan's book, The Life of Saint Columba. Coincidentally, this is the first written account of the Loch Ness Monster. While standing upon the bank of the River Ness, which flows out of Loch Ness in northern Scotland, Columba contemplated the best way to cross to the other side. As he considered the problem before him, he came across a group of heathenish Picts, who were busy burying a friend who had been attacked by an enormous water beast while swimming in the river. When Columba got the gist of the story from the assembled mourners, he laid his staff across the dead man's chest, and miraculously, the man stood up, hale and hearty.
I love that you got a computer, but you still printed out your notes.
Okay, Tauruses don't like change, okay? Against common sense, Columba ordered one of his fellow monks to swim across the loch and bring back a small boat known as a cobble, which moored on the opposite shore. Without hesitation, this dude stripped off his tunic and immediately jumped into the water. The monster, alerted by his splashing around, surfaced and raced towards the hopeless monk, eager for a bite. The monster roared a mighty roar, darting towards the swimming monk with its mouth wide open as he was in the middle of the stream. Okay, long story short, Columba dared the monster to leave, and he said, "You will go no further. Do not touch the man. Leave at once." And even though the monster was no more than a spear's length away from the swimming monk, the sound of the saint's words stopped it in its tracks and it fled. So apparently this Columba guy was known for his miracles. Apparently his miracles came about left and right. But that's the earliest account of Nessie. Yes?
Oh, I'm just not believing this at all.
I see Kayla's face like, bullshit. All right. So last night, my son and I, as I talked about earlier, watched a documentary, and this is on the Travel Channel if you'd like to watch it. It's a show called In Search of Monsters, Loch Ness Monster. Okay. So on June 8th, 2018, Nicola Sturgeon, which is the first minister of Scotland and the leader of the Scottish National Party, went on the news discussing the monster. She was actually, I saw the interview with her. She was very fired up about how people kind of mock Nessie.
This was a woman? I thought you said Nicholas.
Nicola?
Nicola. Oh, Nicola Sturgeon. Okay,
Nicola,
sorry.
yeah. So she believes Nessie is real and deserving of national respect and should not be mocked.
Or he's a PR thing. No, Nessie.
Nessie is. Well, okay.
Was Nessie a girl or a guy?
Well, we don't know.
Well, you called it a girl in the other episode.
Sorry, in my head. Well, let's just say she's gender neutral. Yeah, we don't know. So there are two main types of Nessie. There's the multi-humped sea serpent, which is kind of like the giant eel, I guess people would say. Or there's the...
There's the one that's always like that little dinosaur thing.
The plesiosaur. That's the other one. Yep, the long-necked plesiosaur. And that's kind of the one that I think most people think of when they think of Nessie. So...
Because it's freaking cute.
I mean...
I want a stuffed Nessie. That's so cute. Not like the actual, like, stuffed.
Right. So their descriptions mainly... talk about Nessie being about 20 to 30 feet long with smooth skin, kind of like a whale, and gray, black, or dark green color. And they think that Nessie is a carnivorous predator. It's big business in Scotland. They've capitalized on this.
That's what I said,
clearly.
PR.
Yes. So they have about 1 million visitors in Scotland a year that are coming. Again, more information about the loch. The water has unique properties. It's very murky due to its high peat content. So there's been a lot of like submarines that have tried to go down and see it, but if you're not a few yards in front of the window of the submarine, you're not going to see anything. Exactly. Yeah. So many of the sightings happen above water. There's about 30 to 40 sightings a year, and many of them are credible.
Are any of them caught on this Nessie cam?
Yes, and I'll show you. So one of the main accounts of Nessie being aggressive, normally you don't hear about Nessie attacking anyone. They just see her off in the loch.
Yeah, because there's not actually a body count. Because otherwise that would prove something.
Kaila, I don't really appreciate your attitude with this. Can you please be open-minded? So the account of Nessie being aggressive. So in 1952, a man named John Codd was attempting to break the world and land speed record in the Loch Ness.
Always a good idea.
Yes.
When there's a supposed monster.
Yes. So the boat was struck by an object from underneath and he died. So people say...
The boat?
The boat was struck.
But he was swimming, wasn't he? Or was he rowing? I totally misunderstood that situation.
He was in a boat.
Okay, there was a boat.
Yeah. So no one observed the wake that would have tossed him under. Yeah. And they really think that it's like something happened. I saw the video where it was just like the boat exploded. Okay. And he passed away. Another incident was in the late 1800s. A man saw a large upright log moving quickly throughout the water, and it moved like an animal. There have been sightings everywhere.
So this is like the eel idea.
Yes.
Like. Okay.
Well, no. Well, like kind of like the long neck coming out, I think.
Unless Nessie's bobbing. I don't know why it would be going up.
I mean, swimming, swimming, whatever. So in 1933, this is a big one. Mr. and Mrs. Spicer reported seeing a large animal crossing the road in front of their car. And the sighting sparked public interest and many more came forward. And the legend kind of officially took root with their sighting.
Wait. Nessie can go on land too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to let you continue with my thoughts.
Okay. I just have more accounts here, but I'm gonna move past them until later on because they're just.
I'm not trying to burst your bubble. I'm sorry. I'm gonna shut up now.
So people are discovering creatures thought to be extinct for millions of years. They are also continuously finding new sea animals. In 1976, the U.S. Navy research vessel crew found a new species of shark, which is what we now know as the megamouth shark. So why couldn't one of these situations constitute the existence of the Loch Ness Monster one day? Finding an animal thought to be extinct is called the Lazarus effect. One example of this, coelacanths were thought to be extinct until a live one was caught in 1938. Coelacanths, it's a huge fish, just a huge fish. Okay.
I was about to say, what is that?
Coelacanths were known only from fossils until a live, Latin word I can't pronounce, that's a coelacanth, was discovered off the coast of South Africa in 1938. Until then, they were presumed to have gone extinct in the late Cretaceous period over 65 million years ago. The second living species of coelacanth, another Latin word, was discovered in an Indonesian market in 1997, and a live specimen was caught 1 year later. So this happens. Okay. Yeah. I was reading a type of ant was found that was thought to have only existed at the same time that woolly mammoths existed. Okay, so it happens.
So are they thinking like the plesiosaurus was supposedly like a dinosaur thing?
It was a dinosaur, yeah.
Yeah. So they're thinking that maybe not all of them died?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So what is Nessie? We'll kind of go into the possibilities. It could be a genetic mutation of some sort of animal that we already...
So comforting.
Right? That we already know about. It could be a prehistoric creature, or it could be something else. Cryptozoologists aren't sure it's a plesiosaur because plesiosaurs were air-breathing and supposedly lived in salt water. So unless they've adapted, it may not be that.
But don't alligators do the same thing?
Well, some creatures could thrive in both fresh and salt water. Bull sharks are an example.
Exactly. And we have no actual example of a plesiosaur to know that it couldn't do that.
Right. I feel like you're on board now. Fantastic.
I'm buying this part.
So Nessie could also be an amphibian. They absorb oxygen through their skin, which is why there's not many sightings of them because they would only have to surface every so often.
Okay.
Well, whatever Nessie is, it has to be a group of animals because there has to be a breeding population to account for the number of sightings throughout the centuries. So where are the dead Nessies?
Where are the live Nessies, Rachel?
The dead Nessies could be disposed of because massive amounts of fish feed on them. And they think that Nessie...
Maybe they're cannibals. They just eat themselves.
is capable of traveling in and out of the loch through caverns to the oceans, which, again, it could be a both fresh and saltwater type of an animal. So the loch itself is sat on a fault that has a lot of seismic activity, so there could be caverns down there. It is very deep at parts, as we know.
Yeah.
So because of this, Nessie could be the sea serpents in historic writing. So if you think about it, 3/4 of the Earth's surface is covered in deep water, and accounts span centuries of large sea creatures attacking boats.
Right.
In 1913, off Belfast, Ireland, a submarine came in that was damaged, and it claimed it was attacked by a giant sea creature. The crew survived, but the sub couldn't submerge again, so it kind of had to float on its way in, drive
bobbing
in.
like Nessie.
And the captain said that a massive creature with a 12-foot-long neck and a large head that resembled a turtle head, kind of full of sharp teeth, attacked the boat and damaged it, and the captain shot at it and it swam away. And in 1977, near Japan, a Japanese fishing crew pulled up a large sea creature resembling Nessie. Do you remember pictures of this?
I don't. I was just thinking about how far Japan is from Ireland and Scotland, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It could be like the sea creature.
Okay,
is what I'm getting into.
It's like all over the world.
Right.
Okay.
But
just Scotland's decided to make it a PR thing.
It's not, though. There's other ones I'll get into. Okay. Literally. Okay. Just a second here. Strangely. So the crew pulled up this thing, and there is a picture of it.
Can you post this in the group? Do you know where the picture? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it does look like a plesiosaur. Like, it looks like it had a long neck with a head and kind of fins coming out.
And this thing's dead?
It was dead.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And people weren't sure what it is. There was a group of experts that said that it looked like it was some sort of a prehistoric animal. And then there were others that said, oh, I bet it could be like a basking shark, though, because when basking sharks decompose, I guess like something happens and parts of it fall off in certain ways to make it look like a plesiosaur. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
Unfortunately, they dumped the body because it smelled so bad.
Oh, come on, y'all.
It was decomposing on their
Get
fishing
some
boat.
DNA.
Yeah, so no physical evidence remains aside from the picture of it. I know, what a pisser. Other Lake Nessies there's the Ogopogo, which lives in Okanagan Lake in British Columbia.
So proud of you.
Thank you. There's Champ from Lake Champlain, which is on the border of New York and Vermont with a portion that extends up to Quebec. Apparently, these animals are a lot of times seen and then they disappear. Okay?
Because they're bobbing. Never gonna let that go.
These lakes that they're seen in, they're cold water lakes in...
So is it like they migrate? I mean, that's what sharks do. They migrate up and down the coasts.
It could.
They come in for a while and they eat all the fish in the lake and then they pass on through.
It seems that this climate is like perfect for these types of creatures.
Gotcha.
So the lakes that they're found in, like Ogopogo and Champ and Nessie, they're in these lakes that are created glacially around the same ice age. They're the same distance from the equator, and they're at the same latitude marks. So between the 45th and 57th latitudes north. And so it could just be the right environment and temperature. Yeah. And I saw like a map of the world, and like it pulled, the 47th and 45th and 57th latitudes. And these are where the lakes are. Okay. So it is kind of fascinating that they're all found at this one mark in these lakes.
Now, do all of these lakes have like access to the ocean or other rivers or things?
Not necessarily, but I'm going to bring about a thought-provoking theory.
Okay.
What if these creatures are from a different time?
Oh my God, this is the multiverse thing you're talking about.
We could be seeing brief views into a distant past through a wormhole.
So there's like wormholes at the bottom of these bodies of water?
Well, the loch has a perfect storm of geological conditions. There's a lot of granite and quartz. The way that your watch works, the way that your phone rings, the way that your computer generates power, it's all through quartz because of its electronic field.
Okay.
A high quartz content of the loch produces these electromagnetic fields,
thus creating a wormhole.
The Casimir effect is an attractive force that acts between two close parallel uncharged conducting plates.
This was so hard for you, I can tell.
It is due to quantum vacuum fluctuations of the electromagnetic field. The quartz-rich walls of the loch create the magnetic energy and essentially a wormhole linking us to the past.
That's fascinating if it was true.
So,
it could be
the
true.
way that it appears and disappears could be, us seeing into the past briefly for a moment.
There's Nessies floating through space somewhere. There's probably Nessies on Mars.
So the best recent proof is from a little girl named Charlotte Robinson on August 17th, 2017. And she was vacationing with family when she saw something on the loch. She grabbed a camera and took a picture. It shows something coming out of the water, as well as the perspective of the trees around it that kind of helps us gauge the size of the creature. So here is the picture.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I've seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't this like the viral, this is Nessie picture?
The viral picture was actually proved to be a fake.
And when was this taken?
2017.
Yeah, 2017. And it's that grainy? Well, really, Rachel?
Also, posted on my printer paper, so
Yeah, it's literally like
So
it could be a log. That's all I'm saying. It's hard to.
Yeah. So I have one more account that I want to read. Let me just pull it up here on my fancy.
Oh my God, she's using her computer, you
technology. Guys. Shut your mouth. Okay, so the title of this is The Loch Ness Monster Hunter films two 20-foot creatures swimming together in the water. I'm not even going to... Oh, gosh. His name is so Irish it hurts.
Try. I want to hear this.
Eoin O'Fadoigan.
It's probably like Ian Fadoigan.
Look at it. Eoin.
That's Ian in Irish.
Ian. I'm just going to call him Ian.
Ian Fadehagen.
Ian says he spotted the monster 4 times previously, but it's the first time he has seen 2 of them next to each other. Ian from somewhere I can't pronounce, Northern Ireland, witnessed the rare sightings along with Loch Ness researcher Mike Kaila, who filmed the moment on a webcam on July 10th. That's a man after my own heart because I definitely watched that webcam many times in the 90s. Ian said, the day of the sighting was extremely windy, as you can notice from the trees moving over and back. When I noticed
That's
2 strange...
what it is wind.
When I noticed 2 strange shapes, they were first on either side of each other and not behind each other, going in the same general direction. Never did I think it was 2 humps from one animal. The sighting did not give me that impression. And according to the Nessie spotter...
The nutty spotter. That is more appropriate.
There were 2 separate objects in the lake and 2 shapes were identical to each other. He guessed the objects were about 20 feet long and reaching about 5 feet out of the water. So I'm going to let you see the video here.
Oh, goody.
Hold on.
Does Nessie go around my humps, my lovely lady lumps?
It was here before.
Oh, now the video has suddenly gone missing. Breaking news. Surprisingly, I buy the wormhole theory.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's so funny.
I really do believe there could be multiverses out there. I think it's fascinating. And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is like one of my favorites.
Okay, I have the video here and I'm going to let Kaila look at it.
Okay.
So do you see over here, they're swimming together. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit.
That looks like a turtle.
Look at the perspective of the trees. That thing is huge.
Where? I just see bushes.
It's right here.
No, like that's not a tree.
Oh gosh. Now we're talking to James Corden. Okay. Well, I will post it in the group for you guys to see also.
I will say that was an awfully large girth to be through that lake that fast.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 100% on board. You have to think, again, that these are my closing thoughts, that the Earth is 3/4 covered by water.
And we already know that we have no clue what is actually in those waters.
Right. And the fact that at least the loch is able to possibly escape into the ocean, things could be swimming back and forth there that we don't know about. And I think the megamouth shark is one of the species that we just have recently found. And that's not a small fish, Mm-hmm. I mean, there's definitely accounts of sea serpents or, these big creatures that have been told for centuries.
The Kraken?
Yes. Yeah. So there has to be some sort of a truth behind it because that many people can't be wrong, and at least some of those have to be credible. So do I believe in the Loch Ness Monster? 100%. I would bet my life on it.
Of course, you do that for Bigfoot too, and Mothman and the rest of them.
Yes, and also the British government, they want to send dolphins in with cameras. What's that called? Isn't that in like...
Send in the sonic dolphins.
With friggin' laser beams. That's from like Dr. Evil or something. But
great.
So the British and Scottish government, they also have laws in place in case anyone does find a Nessie. They're very serious about it, and the laws kind of serve as Nessie's protection. So why would they go to that trouble and have so many people vote on it and come to an agreement?
They have an actual law to protect Nessie.
They have a law to protect Nessie, yes.
We can't see it, dead or alive, but it's there, so we're going to protect it.
I mean, I'm on board. So
where is Bigfoot's laws?
Maybe they're there. Maybe I just didn't come across them.
Well,
anyway, I think I've made Kaila a converted, believer. So I really feel proud of myself there. And I hope that all of you guys are believers now too.
What part of my sarcasm did you not hear?
The part when you said, absolutely, Rachel, great research. Nessie is 100% there. I
said I believe the wormhole theory.
And like, that's the one where I'm like, no, I doubt it.
Well, because there's like potentially science behind that one. But of course,
Science schmience. All right, guys. Well, we hope you at least enjoyed our stories and our...
I don't think this one was too spooky. Unless you've seen your doppelganger, you're probably going to die. But
right.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll end on that. If you've seen your doppelganger, then good luck sleeping.
Good luck sleeping.